Welcome back to another episode of From Content to Clients. Today is really cool because I get to talk to Polly. Before I get too far into it, Polly, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So I am a marketing and sales mentor for coaches and practitioners, mainly with ADHD and ADHD, who are kind of in that process of taking their business full time and beyond, but mainly kind of that full time kind of level. And they kind of don't want to be stuck on social media. Marketing feels very heavy, and I mean, as it does in the online world these days, and they're really looking for kind of energy friendly ways of marketing and running their business. So that's what I do.
I love that. And I'm really excited because the last episode that I recorded or published, can't remember, time is weird, but was with my friend Stacy Braga, and we were talking about like copywriting and marketing, and it all kind of came back to how we need like a human first approach. And I feel like hearing about the sales side, specifically for neurodivergent people, that kind of will tie in together. Can you tell us a little bit about like what pulled you into this work specifically?
Yeah, total accident. If I'm honest, it was a total accident, me getting into this work. Amazing accident I'm super grateful for. But I actually used to be a corporate girly, so to speak. And I started my first business as an in-person business in the kind of personal development, spiritual field. Can you call it that? Industry, community? I don't even know. And I moved my business online and became a coach in the personal development field originally. Through that, I really kind of fell into business mentorship by accident because people were just asking me to help them. It was very early days, and that really stemmed my work into being a marketing mentor. And then a couple years ago, I really saw this direct correlation between the work that I was doing and who I was kind of mentoring. They all had ADHD, and I didn't realize until I had just gone through all of my feedback at the end of the year, and I was like, they've all got ADHD or ADHD or autism. And I'm like, how did I not realize this? I just thought, like, what a great connection I seem to be having with everybody. And obviously there was a reason. Yeah. And so I really kind of went down the rabbit hole to find that ADHDers and ADHDers in the online business world are incredibly underserved. We have a very different brain. It doesn't mean that we can't get to the same financial and happiness and life goals as everyone else, but the journey up there, up to that point, just looks a lot different. And I think that the online business kind of world can feel very noisy for someone with a brain that's just differently wired. So yeah, that's how I got here today.
That's so funny, like that it just kind of happened accidentally. I feel like I've talked to a couple people like that, and I always just love those stories and seeing how it comes about. What's something most people misunderstand about ADHD or ADHD entrepreneurs when it comes to working and like online businesses?
Yeah, so I think that the top one that I've heard over and over again is like ADHDers in business are like they struggle with motivation and they struggle with focus. And every time I hear like that, I'm like, not my students. My students are on. Can I swear on this or should I cap it?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, okay. My students are on my ass like every day. Like, here's what I've done. Like, look at my new stuff. Like, it's such BS. Like, I really don't think that it's a fair kind of representation, but it's the most common one of like, oh, so you struggle, to stay motivated and focus. And I always say ADHDers especially only struggle with motivation on things that they don't care about. So actually, it tends to be the opposite problem of me actually having to pry people away from their laptops and their phones after they've done their work and me included, I'm such a workaholic and I really work hard to manage that. But it's like, because you care so much, you actually hyper focus and really, really glue yourself to it instead. So that, I think that's the main one that frustrates me every time I hear it, is the focus and the motivation thing, like it's a blanket statement.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially because a lot of people that own their own businesses, like there's obviously the motivation there to make money. And it's, if they created their own business, it's probably something they enjoy.
Yeah.
So there's that. I have 3 kids that all have ADHD, and there's a lot of, kind of like misconceptions about what it is and like all of the things that go with it. Like people think it's just focus in kids. And I'm like, no, there's like a whole array of things here that we're working on. Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, it is for sure. I mean, just ADHD is so misunderstood, and now in the last few years, especially, it's boomed. I mean, people are, I think, even to the point of people self-diagnosing themselves with ADHD. And it's sometimes, we can be symptomatic of something and not have ADHD, but but it's good just even if they're, people are recognizing, okay, well, this is a symptom I struggle with. Like there's information now to help me get past that. But yeah, there is still a massive education gap on what ADHD actually is, especially in women, especially in adult women, and especially when you run a business, because it shows up in life. And then just like all our other baggage and undealt with stuff, when you run a business, it all just comes like firing out. So it can be a
Yeah.
lot. It can be a lot to manage. And I think that what I realized is not a lot of people understand that part of the journey of having ADHD and being in the online business world. And my mission really was to kind of steward people through that process, like both strategically with the strategic side of things and in the way that you feel, in the way that you show up, and in the way that you put yourself out there to the world. And it's all one big kind of like puzzle, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Can you give us an example of something that makes marketing and sales easier for neurodivergent business owners?
Yeah, do you know, like what you said at the beginning of the episode, it's the human first thing. I feel like neurodivergent people in general struggle. We struggle not knowing the why behind things. It's like, and I love being asked. I would so rather people just say why, like tell me that, because I'm like, okay, once you know the why, everything's going to be so easy. So ask me the why. But
Yeah.
we struggle not knowing the why. We struggle with things that feel really like disjointed and unhuman. And when things I feel are based around tactics rather than strategy and human relationships, that's when I see neurodivergent business owners struggle the most, because they feel so disconnected to it. They like from it, they feel like they're working people because they're just using tactics and no relationship building. And I actually think that sometimes, well, most of the time, people will convince neurodivergent business owners that that's wrong and they should be able to just adapt to all the tactics. I think that's bullshit. I think that there's a reason we feel that kind of way about it, because actually tactics are here today and gone tomorrow. They're not what you should be building your sales and marketing strategies around anyway, both ethically and for the sake of your business. So that's the thing that I think they struggle with most. And I know I did when I first started too.
Yeah, that's something I hear a lot of as well. I don't do a ton with like direct selling, but more like planning marketing things. But yes. Also, I think now when we're seeing like people are spending money less, having a human first approach, and also where everyone is using AI, it's just going to help you business wise, like so much more.
Yeah, AI is something that I really have to. I'm going to sound so mean, but I do put my students on like a chat GPT ban when it comes to writing copy, like lovingly. There's a chat GPT ban. It's like, just tell me, I'll come help you instead. That's my view on it. But where AI content is so, I mean, it's everywhere. I think even people who aren't in the business world can tell when something's AI content, and it's going to start getting ignored. This is the thing, like going full nerdy here on the marketing side of things. Pattern interruption and authenticity is so important in marketing, and that's really what draws people to a personal brand. If we're all putting AI content out there, that's literally going to be detrimental to your business. So use AI for the back end stuff. Sure, don't overuse it, because honestly, like that's a problem too, even on the back end. But yeah, that the content and the AI is really becoming an issue. And I think the online business world is really maturing. Like the funnels that used to work where you just kind of throw freebies at people and PDFs, that's dead and gone. And I don't think people are actually talking about it very much. I'm seeing it really clearly, but I think people are kind of hoping that maybe it's not, but it is. And that human first approach really does need to come back like it used to be. And people are wanting to know that what they're spending their hard-earned money on is actually going to be worth it. Fair enough,
Yeah, 100% agree. How long have you been in like this business specifically?
This business specifically, so the business mentoring,
Yeah.
probably like 3.5 years,
Yeah. Okay.
if my memory serves.
Yeah. I remember when like everyone was like funnels. You need a funnel. It's going to
Yeah.
make you money, like so much money while you're sleeping and like all this stuff. And it was like a huge thing for selling courses and templates so everyone could have a funnel. Yeah. I don't think that's a thing anymore.
It's literally not. And that's the thing. So like before I was a business mentor and I was doing the personal development coaching, that was like you said, funnels were like all the rage, and it's like the make money in your sleep thing. And the thing is though, I had a background in marketing and sales for like a good few years before I even got into business. And so I was
Mhm.
constantly questioning everything that I knew about marketing and sales when I was hearing these kind of like big name coaches say, you know, oh, you can do this, like, you know, this is the way it's done in the online world. And I remember thinking, like, that seems stupid. That seems like people aren't going to go for that long term, because why would they not want to talk to someone before investing a few $1,000s? And I remember
Yeah.
thinking, and I thought, no, do you know what? You haven't been in the space. You need to listen to these people. And, you know, I think it worked for a bit, but yeah, we're in a completely different market now. And like, I think it's good. I really think that we should work for clients and we should work for people's trust. Like, I think that that's just really normal.
Yeah, super normal. And like from a buyer's perspective, I completely understand being skeptical,
Yeah.
especially in like the online business space where I've heard so many stories of people getting burned from like bad offers, bad
Hmm.
coaching, or like coaches that didn't show up and like just crazy, crazy stuff. So, for all the reasons, it makes a ton of sense why human first marketing should be like the thing.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think, yeah, like you said, it's just people's trust are is like, call it a trust recession or just the market changing, but we've all got to adapt. And I think the people who aren't going to be able to adapt very well, the people who are wanting it to come easy when they're in that first foundational stage of building their business, and they want an overnight success, and it's unfortunately just not the case. So
Yeah. It would be nice, but not going to work that way. When it comes to like selling specifically, do you ever have clients that are like more introverted and like hate doing the sales calls? And do you give like any kind of advice to them for that?
yeah, yeah, I have a lot of students actually who are either more introverted or they're really conscious of ethics because of maybe their line of work or the way that they've been trained. And they
Mhm.
never like the way I teach sales is so permission based and human based anyway. I don't ever encourage using like fake scarcity or urgency that isn't real or kind of ethical. So we don't use tactics. We really go off of like the core of what sales is really about, which is trust and relationships. But I have people who maybe are a little bit conscious of going on sales calls because of their own kind of opinion or experience of what sales calls have been, and or you know, they don't want to outright sell their offer. And it really does come down to when we go into the root of, okay, why do you feel uncomfortable about this? It's normally about their own experiences that they've had or what they believe that they need to do in order to sell. And that's where we can kind of rework all of that, not to be like, okay, I'm going to brainwash you and change your beliefs about what you're capable of, but it's like, how can we make sales something that you see as service? That's what I always say. Sales is service first, and it should always be based on service. And so it's not about trying to really like force yourself to turn into like the guy from Wolf of Wall Street. It's like, how can you look at sales and make sales line up with your values so that selling doesn't feel weird and it's actually service first.
That makes a ton of sense because when I think about sales, I think about like the bad calls I've been on first,
Yeah.
or even like the like door to door salesman with like the really horrible, horrible tactics. I had someone come trying to get me to like buy a new front door the other day, and it was just me and my kids at home, and like my kids are screaming in the background because I'm trying to make dinner. And this man is telling me about doors. I'm like, do you really think this is the right time? And then he's like, so which would you like, option A or option B? Like three times after I said I'm not interested. I'm like, this is not the way.
It's really not. I'm just going to shut this blind because it's like sun is in my eyes. It's really not. And the thing that we often forget is like, of course, it's not going to go well if you literally just go up to someone and say, "Here's my offer or my door. Would you like it?" You know, that guy came to your door and he just shoved the door in your face basically without saying, "Have you got any problems with your doors? Like, tell me about your door problems. Like, I hear your kids screaming in the background. Do you want me to come back at a better time?" Like, all of that, or like, do your kids like slam the doors? Are they glass doors? Are they dangerous? Here's some wooden doors. You know, anything that would get to know you and actually just be respectful of your time and your just situation. He didn't do, and that's what a lot of online businesses do. They just literally pitch cold DMs or invite someone on a sales call, kind of like act like it's going to be something it's not, and then they back them into a corner. No one wants that. And this is the thing of why sales feels so bad, is because it's not normally done with the service and the genuine relationship building first. And it's a perfect example.
Yeah, that is definitely the better way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And also like, is it even a fit? Because this is again another thing that people miss out. And this is why you should really be somewhat either having really, really clear marketing or talking to people or being open to talking to people. Because if it's not a fit, then someone coming into your program because you've learned how to sell ice to an Eskimo or like sell anything to anyone, like these like big name coaches say, that's not a good thing because that's potentially going to be not a good thing for you because it's going to be a nightmare for you to work with someone who's not aligned with your work. But also, that's going to be a nightmare for them because you've just taken their money when it's not a fit for what they're wanting to pay for. So there's so many
Right.
aspects to it that come before and around like getting the sale.
Yeah, for sure. And then once you have that conversation and trust, even if it's like someone who's like, I don't know if this is like this particular offer is right for me, or like I'm not in a place where I can invest right now, it doesn't mean they're not going to come back like later when you have another offer for like that you're promoting or they are ready to invest.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what's known as objections or whatever. And I always think you don't have to handle every objection. Sometimes when someone's saying like, thank you so much for that free call that we hopped on and it was really useful for me, but right now I'm struggling to put food on the table and I can't get into any debt. I'm not going to do it. That's not an objection you want to be handling or need to be
Right.
handling. It's really not. But when someone's
Yeah.
saying, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to commit to this, or I'm not sure if I'm going to have the time for this, I'm not sure if this is going to be able to get me to this place that I want to be. Those are objections that actually normally that's kind of a cry for help. Like, look, prove to me that this is the thing. Like, if I'm worried about my accountability, can you answer that for me and tell me how you're going to keep me accountable as the coach or provide this to me as the service provider. So those are objections that we can kind of overcome or that really it's just questions to be answered. That's the way I view it.
Yeah. I love that approach so much. I had another podcast episode that I recorded with the same person, actually, Stacy, but we
Hmm.
were talking about how online business is kind of like MLM-y
Hmm.
in some ways and like all the predatory practices in sales specifically. And we got a bunch of feedback from people. And I remember people saying there were people selling courses to them, like coaches who would, if they said they didn't have money, try to get them to like sell things like their furniture and stuff. It was
No
crazy.
way.
Yeah.
Really? Like I've
Yeah.
heard I've been in this space for like a hot minute. So I've seen some shit and I've heard some shit. I've heard about like coaches having loan officers that work for like or in cahoots with their business and they direct people to their loan officers and be like, you can get out a loan with this part. It's like that's not your responsibility. Like
No,
what's going on?
that's giving me like icky car salesman vibes. Like, I
Yeah.
don't like that.
It's weird. I just think that, the part of your marketing, your sales, your relationship building isn't to say like you need to come up with the money. It's not about convincing. It's really you should be clear enough for someone to make that decision on their own. And that does come with like answering the right questions. It comes with also giving people breathing room and space, like trying to force people and back people into a corner is just not ethical and also they're going to get the ick. So that we need to be really conscious of all of that. I think yeah, I've heard some awful stuff. I remember my first coach, she told me, she was like, on the sales call you need to ask people how bad they're going to feel if they don't invest. And I'm like, I'm not doing that, lady. Like, what do you mean? So how bad are you going to feel if you don't invest today? I'm going to feel like shit. You just made me feel worse, thanks. And then she was like,
Right.
you need to get people to pay on the call. And I was just like, I literally left that program. I was like, that's actually how I became a business mentor, because the people in that coaching community were not obviously getting the coaching that they'd signed on to. I was the only one who knew about business and marketing. So they all latched onto me. And I was such a people pleaser at that point. And I was like, yeah, I'll help everyone. I was so bright eyed and bushy tailed. I'm so glad I did though, because I wouldn't be here. But yeah, I talk about this stuff with so many people though who are in the online business space, and I'm pretty sure just everybody knows the crack by now of like this stuff goes on and it's awful that it is so well known because it's obviously happening a lot still.
Yeah. And it's nuts that it is still happening. I feel like we should be way past that by now.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird because I've seen the rise and fall of so many of these kind of people who who operate like that, and they are dropping like flies in from where I'm sitting. But at least the people in my kind of, well, were in my orbit. I was kind of watching, being a little stalker and kind of looking at their unethical practices. But they are dropping kind of like flies, because I think that people are waking up, and like so they should. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad people are waking up to that for sure. It's so like it feels so manipulative and like predatory.
Yeah.
I don't like that it happened at all.
No. And this is the thing, is like we it's so easy to say like that happened, so I'm gonna like attach the whole like meaning of sales and marketing to that. But that's just one experience, and really is an odd one. It's just not normal. Marketing and sales really is
Mhm.
not about convincing or backing people into a corner. And so it's really now a chance for everybody who is in this space to look at what that means for them and how they really want to do marketing and sales, and don't let your bad experiences project onto you and how you're going to run your business, because it really doesn't have to be like that.
Can you kind of explain to us what like a more low pressure like sales approach might look like for a neurodivergent person that would kind of work for them better?
Yeah, I mean, depending on whether you mean like the offer side of things and how you promote your offer, or talking to people, I mean, we'll kind of go with. I think there's something I can pick out here, which a lot of people struggle with, which is talking about their offer, because they don't want to be ego
Yeah.
driven, or they don't want to be like, a thing that seems to come up a lot with my students is social proof, and saying, I've gotten people these results, and understandably, and this took me a really long time to get my head around as well, is I don't want to promise results. Promising results and guaranteeing results is the worst thing that you can do as a business owner, whether you're a coach or a service provider. But you also need to be loud and proud about the results that you do get people, and the great work that you've done before. And obviously, I know that that can be a little bit tricky when you haven't got social proof yet, because you're a new business owner. But that seems to be the main thing of, I don't want to gloat. I don't want to, it's like, as a business mentor or coach, I was never going to post my Stripe screenshots, like, and tell people how much money I've made, because I think that that's really weird. I always have done. It's like, what, I don't care to tell you what's in my bank account. I'll tell you what's in my students' bank accounts. I'll tell you what amazing results that they're getting, but why is it relevant about what I make? That's so weird. But there are ways that you can really connect. I think it's like connection over like guaranteeing and promising and gloating, is if you can really find a way to display like your expertise and your experience in a really connection led way. That's really the sweet spot when you're like promoting your offer, and really like using connection rather than kind of like feeling like a sleaze bag, because you're saying like, here's my amazing offer and this is what I can promise you and guarantee you, and like it's a hard kind of transition to make.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I don't know that I see too much of them anymore. I feel like it might be something that is hopefully like dying down, but like the Stripe screenshots and everything drive me nuts. Like I'm glad that you can do that, but if I'm buying from you, I want to see that you can help other people make that money too.
yeah, exactly. Like, all that says to me is that you're able to sell and you're able to market, but can you teach me how to do that? Just
Yeah,
because it's worked for
exactly.
you, it doesn't mean it's going to work for me. And also, those could be fake. Oh my God, the amount of like fake.
Yeah.
Just going back to horror stories of the industry as well. Apparently, there was like, I don't know how factually, I don't know how accurate this is, but apparently there was this group of like big name coaches who like a few years ago used to transfer money between each other, like big money, and then they would all like take screenshots to make it look real or something. I don't know. It just, do you know,
Oh
all
gosh.
this shit really feels like school, and it's like the mean girl table of like,
Mm-hmm.
it's so savage, but
Exactly
like,
what it is. Yes.
it's so bad and so like petty. I don't even know. It's just so weird. But
Yeah.
the Stripe screenshots, I mean, it's just, I feel like if you're uncomfortable with something, in sales, it's not always a limiting belief. And this is the thing that also drives me nuts, is like, if you don't post screenshots of your bank account, that's a confidence block. That's a limiting belief. It's like, no, Becky, it's not. Like, it's not. It's just your ethics. And I think sometimes it will be a limiting belief. Sometimes it will be discomfort, but just know the difference between, I don't want to do that because that's not in line with my values, and okay, this is a confidence block. And that, again, that self-trust can be a lot to navigate, and knowing the difference between the two. But yeah, it's not always limiting belief.
Yeah, for sure. And I think for social proof without like the cringy stripe screenshots, I was thinking while you were talking, like clients, no, case studies. That's the word I
Mhm.
want. Case studies are a great way to do that because making like the blanket statements of, oh, I can help you. I got this one person to like double her income. I can help you double your income. I kind of hate
Mhm.
that. But if you can show like different people doing different success stories of whatever, I always love to see those.
Yeah, variation is so important because if you're just attaching to one result and kind of making that your be all and end all, like one main result, of course, like my main result is like, helping you take your business full time. That's like the overhanging thing. But within that, that's going to look so different for everybody. Some people are going to
Yeah.
do launches. Some people are going to work on like kind of evergreen and more like one-to-one basis. Like the results in that are all going to be very, very different. So yeah, when people do just kind of use one thing and work off of that and it's a hyper specific thing, it always does seem a little bit like so yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say variation is really important.
Hmm. If someone only took one thing from this episode and implemented it, what do you think it should be?
Yeah, I think just based on what we've spoken about, and again, especially if you are ADHD or neurodivergent, I would say it's just going back to your perception of sales and just if you do have those connotations, just really look at whether that's in relation to your own experiences or what you actually believe, and look at
Mhm.
where potentially, again, like this is a good exercise to look at, is it a limiting belief or is it your values? Look at the things that you are absolutely not going to do and you'll never want to do. Like for me, that would be like pushing people into a sale and posting stripe screenshots, but then looking at the things that you're uncomfortable with that you need to get past, and look at how you can kind of differentiate between the two. And like I said, even with the things that you're uncomfortable moving past, it doesn't mean that you have to do it a certain way. Like let's say that selling on calls or in conversations with people is something that you're really, like, you struggle with. The way you go about that is a thing that you need to get over, but the way you go about that doesn't have to look linear or what some guru has told you it needs to look like.
Right. That makes sense. And where can people go if they want more help with this and finding like a way to market and do sales that works better for them and their brain?
Yeah, so I can leave you my links, but I have my own podcast, which is pretty much like a vault of mini trainings around marketing, sales, visibility, managing kind of the overall experience of being neurodivergent in business, and the focus, the productivity, the energy management. So the podcast, you can come chat with me on Instagram in the DMs. I'm not on social media like posting anymore, but I love to yap. So you can come chat with me there. And I also do have a free community called the Procrastination Station. It's very ADHD coded. And that's where we go live every week. And it's kind of like a free mentorship session where I answer questions. And then, it's lovely. And then I have my 4-month marketing mentorship program, which is my main offer. So that's the Neurofriendly Sales Excellence.
Perfect. And I'll put the links for those in the show notes. So definitely check them out. And thank you so much for coming on to talk to me, Polly. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Thanks for hanging out with me on From Content to Clients. If this episode helped you think differently about your content, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's next. And if you're ready for content that's more strategic and less throw it together and hope for the best, head to sydneyobrien.com to learn more about working with me.